Putinist Russia does not care about peace. Putin is not interested in peace. He is interested exclusively in capitulation of Ukraine.
We must always compare what the state says and what it does. Russia's words have never matched its actions.
A state that challenges the world order, that destroys the foundations of the world order laid after the World War II, must be punished.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euro-Atlantic Course, and I'm your host, Myroslava Yaremkiv. The unexpected collapse of the Soviet Union caught many Western analysts and politicians by surprise, with some Western leaders even trying to hinder this process, historians recall. Taking this experience into account, current political analysts and leaders are trying to predict and prepare for the most likely, in their opinion, scenarios of Russia's withdrawal from the war with Ukraine. In today's episode, our experts explore one crucial question. Can lasting global peace be achieved without military, economic, and nuclear defeat of Russia? If you want to learn more about this subject, please continue watching this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our videos in the future. If Putin wins this war or achieves significant advantages, then for the West it will mean that in 5 years they have to wait for another big war with Russia. Consequently, Russia must lose control of its nuclear weapons. Its energy monopolies must be privatized to prevent the government from using them to finance its foreign policy goals, and the regime must be condemned both legally and morally. More arguments on why it is impossible to hope for peace without Russian defeat, please welcome Chair of the Verkhovna Rada Committee on Ukraine's integration into the European Union, Ivanna Klympush-Tsintsadze.
We see a lot of articles in the Western press lately that suggest that so-called magic thinking with regard to magic defeat of the Russian Federation should be given up. Basically, we see how representatives of the realpolitik school, together with the representatives of the leftist establishment, are pushing through the narrative of the need to negotiate peace at the expense of the Ukrainian territories. They all argue that Russia is a nuclear state and it has to preserve its geopolitical and regional influence so that Ukraine is not capable of winning this war over Russian Federation. Even if you ask the artificial intelligence chat GPT what should be the policy towards the Russian Federation, you'll get the answer that Russia is a regional power and Russia should be dealt with in cooperation. Obviously, this artificial intelligence, she is gathering the information for its answers based on whatever is mostly available in the network. But actually, we do have to understand one simple thing. All those Elon Musks that are suggesting that Ukraine should reach peace with the Russian Federation at the expense of its territories and its people, they either do not understand or do not want to understand that Putinist Russia does not care about peace. Putin is not interested in peace. He is interested exclusively in capitulation of Ukraine. According to Putin, this war goes along his kind of adjusted plan. And this is the war of exhaustion, and first and foremost, exhaustion not only of Ukraine, but of the West. So Putin wants capitulation, not peace. And he expects that first Ukraine will capitulate, will be coerced to capitulate, but then he will reach the point when the West will also capitulate. No territories in exchange for Ukraine's NATO membership are of interest for Russian Federation. Only Ukraine's capitulation, which would mean also the first step to Western capitulation further down on the road. So, getting back to the question why sustainable peace is not possible without Russian defeat. First and foremost, peace without Russian defeat would mean that Putin's presumption that the West is weak and the West is fearful will be further confirmed. After such peace, Putin will only try to make some work on lessons learned, will ensure that he is further finding possibilities for circumventing sanctions. He will continue modernizing his armed forces. He will strengthen his autocratic and dictatorial alliance with others and will start a new war.
The defeat of the Russian authoritarian regime should include the change of the entire political regime, not only Vladimir Putin, as Russia is not a product of Putin, but on the contrary, Putin is a product of Russian political culture. Ukraine does not see ways to democratize Russia in the near future, and therefore, even if Russia remains a federation and gathers forces for the next attack, or if it disintegrates into many states fighting each other with the help of private armies, it is necessary to provide the greatest support to Russia's neighboring countries so that they can defend themselves. Reserve Major General of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Serhii Kryvonos, will elaborate more on that.
As long as Russia exists, the issue of peace is not quite clear. If Russia wanted peace, it probably would not have attacked South Ossetia or Georgia. It wouldn't have introduced its troops into Kazakhstan on the eve of the big invasion, as we remember, wouldn't have introduced its troops into Ukraine, and wouldn't have started to destroy Ukraine. We must always compare what the state says and what it does. Russia's words have never matched its actions. The entire history of the Russian Empire, be it Tsarist, Soviet, or Putin's, shows that they, like nits, have always lived at the expense of the lives of others. It's the same here. Instead of solving their own problems, having quite a powerful potential, they make their people live like beggars and, besides, force them to go to war. To war for what? For what idea? This is their number one problem. Ukraine is not the factor that can stop Russia if it wins. Of course, we'll fight, and we'll fight tooth and nail. I thank the West for this. But Russia's war with Ukraine is like a test. If they are able to do it with Ukraine, then there will be the Baltic countries, then Poland. It will be an attempt to influence a huge number of situations, including Europe. For some reason, Europe is sure that Russia won't reach Europe, and Europe will solve all these issues by off, so to speak. But knowing this unprincipled and greedy Katsapian mentality, I think that the only way to stop Russia is to completely destroy this country and divide it into lots of republics, which must exist independently. The West very often sees Russia in its own geopolitical interests as a market for raw materials and a market for the sale of products, and makes quite a lot of money from this. They're happy with it, and they're mostly not interested in the huge problems of begging inside Russia. They have a result, and they're not interested in how it is achieved. I think this issue must be raised and made public, including through Ukraine's informational and psychological struggle against the situation inside Russia.
Western politicians should stop hoping for a moderate Russian leader who wants peace with his neighbors and reforms at home, and instead focus on curbing negative phenomena that will lead to Russia's collapse, such as bringing weapons of mass destruction under control. Director of the Institute of World Politics, Yevhen Mahda, advocates for a post-war strategy to neutralize Russia's levers of influence and urges for proactive promotion and discussion. Let's listen to his insights.
The Russian-Ukrainian war has become a serious test for international relations. Its outcome and its future fate will determine a lot for the modern world order. We should clearly realize that Russia's defeat must have certain parameters. It may not be one-staged. It may consist of several components. Anyway, without Russia's defeat, the world won't live peacefully. It's quite clear. The thing that Russia is very actively promoting is the thesis that the Russian-Ukrainian war is the Third World War. It isn't true. This is meant to raise Russia's authority and show its ability to affect the situation, but it isn't so. I want to emphasize that now the world should be consolidated around Russia's defeat, because only Russia's defeat can show the need for action in international politics. It can show that a state that challenges the world order, that destroys the foundations of the world order laid after the World War II, must be punished, even if it is a nuclear state with the largest territory in the world. It's quite obvious and must be constantly dealt with. It is Ukraine, as a victim of aggression, that must propose a plan for Russia the day after tomorrow, the day after the Ukrainian victory. We must promote it in a consolidated manner on various platforms. We must talk about it and create necessary conditions for further progress. We must create alliances and coalitions around it. We must show what a world without an aggressive Russia should be like and would be like. This is the goal that should guide Ukrainian foreign policy now. A Russia which is deprived of the ability to use nuclear weapons. A Russia which is deprived of a permanent membership status at the UN Security Council. A Russia which does not have many levels of influence. And this will make it different. And without a doubt, it will make the world a better place.
You've been watching a special project by Ukraine Media Center and Euro-Atlantic course dedicated to the Russian-Ukrainian War, Ukraine in Flames. In the description under this video, you can find information on how you can help Ukraine fight Russian aggression. If you find our work useful, please like and share this video. Slava Ukraini!